Hello, everyone. And for those of you who are coming back from parts one and parts two, we thank you for returning. And for those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome to part three of connection design for Giza structures. My name is Jim Moody, and joining me today will be my colleague Ben Vossmeyer. So, on our agenda today, we will have three quick events. We'll have a brief webinar overview, which I will do, and then Ben will jump in with the Giza demonstration, and then we'll close out with any comments or questions and just wrap up the session. It shouldn't take any longer than 20-25 minutes. So a quick overview. We're going to, of course, go over the Tekla integration. And very quickly, we are supporting Tekla versions 18 and through 2018. So we have tested and everything appears to be working with the 2018 version. The bidirectional exchange of connections is our core functionality with the Tekla integration. Our part one webinar talked about the loading, how the information was brought into the Tekla model regarding the loads. Do I have to manually enter in the end reactions? Can Giza help calculate those automatically? And all that information is in part one webinar, which went over all of those details. And then part two webinar was the example process flow of the Tekla Giza integration. So we just basically walk through those four steps: export connections into Giza, verify and design the connection, import the design back into Tekla. So that was our part two content. And then today we're going to go through the part three content, which talks about the status of the connection design, how Giza works with your assembly drawings, and then also we'll briefly cover the additional plugin components. Giza has created 13 different plugin components that come with the Giza installation, and we will highlight those components along with a brief description of what they are all about. So with that overview complete, I want to turn the presentation over to my colleague Ben, who will then jump into the actual demonstration of the part three. Ben?
Thanks, Jim. Hi, everyone. As Jim said, my name is Ben Vossmeyer, and I will be here to show you guys a few features that Giza has to offer. So why don't we dive right in and talk about statusing. Now, in Giza, there are a few statuses that sort of represent the state your connections are in. And you can see them over here on the right. There are three of them in Giza. There's passing, failing, and verify. Each of these mean slightly different things. So a passing connection means that your connection has passed all of its limit states. There are no failing limit states. So if we open up the check form here, we can see that everything is in fact passing. A failing connection means that at least one of your limit states is failing. So here we've got the bolt capacity here that is failing, which marks the connection as failing. And the verify status is a little bit different. This means that something's just a little off with your connection. So if we take a look at what it wants us to look at here, we can see that under parts there is a verify, and it says that the stiffener plate is not required. In this connection, it's checking to see, it knows we have a stiffener plate, and it can tell that if we removed the stiffener plate, that the connection would still be passing. So it just lets us know. So these verify statuses don't necessarily mean that the connection is failing. It just means that something needs to be double checked. And I've got here a list of all of the things that Giza checks for the verify status, and you can see that there's stiffener plates and doubler plates. It checks the bolt tightening clearances, the shear capacity, and a bunch of other different things. And it's really just to help you, so you don't miss anything. You don't want to add too many bolts, that won't fit on your beam or things like that. You want to make sure that you can, tighten your bolts correctly. You have the room to do that. So Giza will notify you and tell you whether those things are a little bit off. And now I want to move on to the Tekla model itself. Now you can see here that each connection has a different color, and these colors actually represent the statuses of the connections. So if I scroll up here to a green connection, this represents a passing connection. And if I were to scroll over to a red connection, these connections represent failing connections. And if I scroll over to that orange connection, this would be a verify. So this is actually this connection over here in Giza, and you can see that it does have a stiffener plate. So if we were to remove this, the connection would still be passing. And luckily, Giza notified us of that. And there are actually two other colors in the Tekla model that aren't in the software itself. The first being this gray color, which means it hasn't been processed yet. It hasn't been run through Giza yet. And the second being this yellow color. And this color means that this connection is not yet supported in Giza. So this is a base plate, something that we don't support. So if you try to process this connection, Giza will automatically label this yellow in your Tekla model. And these color coding schemes in the Tekla model, it takes 5 minutes to set up. It's very easy to do. And now I want to show you something cool you can do in your Tekla model. So if I were to just grab a few of these connections here, just grab 4 of them here, and hit the get button. I'll go ahead and process them. And once these are done processing, we can simultaneously change the colors on all of these connections. Cool. So we can see that there are 2 new connections in our list here. And if we were to check mark both of these and hit the apply button, this will apply the color coding and the connection capacity to all of these connections listed. So our connection capacity was successfully applied. And now this will also work if I were to hit this failing, if I were to just edit one of these connections and to make it passing. It's very easy to do for these connections. We'll design it. And we can see the color change in real time. So if we hit calculate, we can make this connection pass. And then apply the design. And it's just this single connection over here. We'll add a doubler plate. And we'll recalculate all of our limit states to make sure it is still passing. Make sure no Tekla dependencies have changed. It is now passing. So if we apply the capacity, this color will actually change from red to green. To show you that the connection is now passing. So you can grab your entire model, you can process all of the connections, and then you can apply all of the colors at one time, just so that anybody that opens the model knows what's passing and what's failing. Now, let's say you didn't want the color to be applied, but it was accidentally. So if we were to go to one of these failing connections, we can actually erase the color that is on there. We can hit this handy dandy reset button, and this will get rid of the color on the model and make it a gray to show it's unprocessed. And now I want to move on to another feature that Giza has to offer, and that is an integration with shop drawings. So on a shop drawing, Giza will add some information that will be helpful. So why don't we go ahead and create one? So if we just click this connection that we just designed here, we'll go ahead and create an assembly drawing. Go ahead and perform numbering. And we'll open up our drawing list. See it here, and open it up. Now if we zoom in, we can see this cool box here. Now this is the box that Giza is adding, and it shows the connection code, the load on the beam, and the connection capacity. Now this box can be changed to show a number of different things. And if we go into our drawing properties, we close out of this drawing here. If we go to our drawing properties, we can see what exactly we can put on these templates. So there's a bunch of different Giza templates here. The Giza template is the standard, and then there's the connection code if you just want to show the connection code in that box, or if you want to show the loads given as well as the unity check value, or UCV, in that box as well. There's also these associative notes if you don't want any clouds, if you want the loads on it. And these are for if you accidentally delete your drawing, or if you update your connection, you don't have to make a new drawing, things like that. And another cool thing that Giza can do with these drawings, if I were to create one in this failing connection, we can see it here. We'll go ahead and open it up. And you can see that this connection is now clouded and it says failed. So Giza will tell you in your shop drawing, if you create a drawing with a failing connection, that the connection is failing, and we'll cloud it for you. And this will actually work for the verify status as well. The box will be clouded, and instead of failed, it will say verify. And this, like the color coding, it takes 2 minutes to set up. There's a tutorial on our website for both the color coding and the shop drawing notes for you to go look at. And the next thing that I want to go ahead and show you guys are our plugins. So if I were to open up our applications and components and search for Giza, a number of different plugins will show up. Now these Giza plugins were created as an addition to all of the Tekla components, things that we thought would be useful for our customers to have. And there are 13 different plugins that you can use. And each of these plugins are installed along with Giza. As long as you have Tekla installed, you can choose to install all of these plugins at no additional cost. And these components are active as long as your Giza subscription is active. And these components are also available in the trial version. And so I'll go ahead and open up a few different versions of these Giza plugins. So this one that we had designed just now is actually a Giza plugin. It is the Giza 1 plugin. And what's cool about this is that you can add a doubler plate or a horizontal stiffener to your connection. So you can see here that we did add a doubler plate. And I can show you, if I scroll over here, to a connection that has a horizontal stiffener in it. So this is the Giza 1 plugin as well. And you can see the stiffener here. We've also, there's so many different types of connections. We've also got a moment connection here, a bolted moment connection. So if we double click that and open up the component, we can see that this is the Giza 5. In addition to full components like this, we also have add-ons that go with the Tekla components that are already there. So if I scroll over around here, we can see this K-brace. Now what's cool about this is that these cover plates here are actually Giza plugins. And this cover plate works directly with the plugins that are already there for this K-brace. So if we open up this one as well, we can see that this is the wraparound gusset cross 60. This cover plate, Giza will automatically add this. If your cover plate is not there and you need to add it in Giza, it will automatically be added. And that about does it for my portion of this webinar. I was a little bit short this time, but a lot of valuable information. So if you need to help setting up these color coding or the shop drawings, there's videos on our website that will show you exactly how to do that. They're very easy to do. Or you can just send us an email and we'll help you out. But thank you all for listening to me talk about Giza's features. And I'm going to hand it back over to Jim.
Okay, Ben, thank you very much for that demonstration. Appreciate it greatly. Um, so we want to wrap up the session here with some closing thoughts and questions. I just wanted to just reiterate some of the things that Giza will help you with. It'll streamline your process. The case studies that we've done reveal up to an 80% reduction in time. We've seen as little as 30%, but up to 80% of that reduction. We built a system to allow collaboration directly with other project stakeholders just by sharing Giza files with one another. We support 132 different connection configurations and 234 different design configurations. So as kind of to add to that, the design configurations, we support the 13th and 14th edition of AISC and LRFD and ASD design codes as well. So the question I get quite frequently is, are we going to do 15th edition of AISC? We absolutely are. We are already in the process of looking at the updates that need to be done to support the 15th edition of AISC. And just as the edition is widely accepted and used on projects, we will obviously be ahead of the game on that when the 15th seems to be common practice. We also support New York City building code checks as well. So for any of you working in the New York City area, they do require a couple additional checks on the connections, so we support those as well. We work with combined load conditions, just very similar on vertical bracing. You need to transfer some horizontal forces into the beam from maybe a brace connection coming in. We will actually calculate all of that for you as well, and not just design the connection, but help calculate the loads associated. Our system is consistently rated very easy to use. One of our customers said they did not actually lose any time on their project the first time that they used Giza, because Giza was just very intuitive and it was very easy for them to use during their project. And it's a proven product built from a proven process. Like, we have it in our internally. It's been used for many years, and it's come from a background of a detailing company who needed to use a tool to help speed up their connection design process with their detailing jobs. So it's been used for about 7 years now, and it's a proven process. We've gone through the checks and balances of the best way to get through the connection design process, and we're very confident that through this process we've developed a tool that will help just about anybody needing a connection design system. So in this presentation, what are the next steps? So at this point, we want to open up for some questions. So if there's anyone that would like to do that, you have a chat box available. And if I don't get to your questions, we will collect all of them, and then I will report back out to you with the answer to your questions. So at this time, please feel free to go ahead and start with a question and answer process. So we have one coming in. What is your licensing setup? So Giza is set up in 3 areas on licensing. We offer just a simple standalone license, which is dedicated to a computer. And we offer a network license, which is based on concurrent users. So for example, if you have a 2-user network license, that means 2 people can have simultaneous access at one point. And as soon as one gets out, then another person on a different computer can get in. So it's in and out, first come, first serve situation. And then we also offer enterprise license. So it's basically a network license, but designed to work over multiple office locations or multiple servers. So those are the 3 licensing options that we offer. And a couple more questions are coming in here. So can Giza work with custom connections? So the answer to that question is yes, it can. We obviously develop the Giza connections to work with the Tekla components, and we develop it to work with the Giza components as well. So through the development process, we can review your custom component and work with those and build those into the Giza library. So the answer is yes. We don't really need to do it very often because we find that between the Giza and the Tekla components, we generally have enough coverage for the framing condition or whatever the need is for the connection. Are plugins tied to the number of users? Let me see here. Let's see if I can kind of explain how the plugins work, and I hope this answers your question. The plugin 13 custom component plugins from Giza are available to anyone that on the network that is using a network license of Giza. So as an example, you could have a 2-user network license of Giza, but we actually make the Giza components available to everybody that's on the network using Tekla. So you could have 8 people using the Giza components as long as they're on the network, but 2 people would have access to the Giza connection design tool. So we kind of opened up the Giza components to a wider audience on the Tekla network. And we'll take one more question. And pricing, okay, that's a pretty common question. So we talked earlier about the licensing setup. We price it by number of users and the type of license that you wish to use. And I'm not trying to sidestep anything, but for your situation, if you could email us and kind of walk me through your situation, I would be happy to go through the pricing options. But it's, the budget range is between 3,950 to 6,000, 7,000, whatever you want as far as the number of users are concerned. So every situation is different. So all I ask is that you contact us and I can help you with those pricing quotations. So we're going to apologize if it did not get to your question, but we're going to kind of wrap it up at this point. Again, if you entered a question in the chat box and it did not get to it, I will reply to you separately to make sure your questions are taken care of. So there's a few things here you can do at this point if you wish. You can go to our website, gizasteel.com. A couple things. On our website, we actually list all of the components that are supported. So if you go to our overview page and there's an area called supported connections, you can see a description of the connection and as well as the Tekla component number or the Giza component number that is required to get that to work. We also offer a 15-day free trial, and with that you get training and support as needed. This is a full version. This is not a limited trial version, so you have full use of the software during that time period. And then our contact details there as well. So I just wanted to thank you for your time. I appreciate it very much. We will be doing a part 4 in the very near future, and this part 4 will be kind of a wrap up of the things we haven't discussed so far. And also as a reminder, we will be at the NASCC, the Steel Conference, which will be in Baltimore. You see the dates there, the 11th of April through the 14th. And we will be at booth 1703. So if you are going, we hope to see you there. And we do truly appreciate your time spending